face, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite, I am rolling with the public, gonna be more white. I saw them twist history right before my very eyes. Insurrection Day, it's in the book and it's all lies. But now I am alive and well to tell it. But will generations down the line be able to sell it? I've always been a thinker on the search for both sides, but they label me an outcast and they cannot tell me why. Guess I'm just a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. Why does affirmative action make them not hire me? Even in the countries where I'm the minority. Is my rage just that awesome and no other could compete? Is that what the anti-whites are trying to tell me? Why am I always seen as such a threat? To the point they want to strip me down till there's nothing left. Old friends from high school, man, I haven't kept one, but I got a new crew and it's where I belong. Cause if you ain't going free, you ain't rolling with me. And there are even anti-whites in my own family. But I am the one who's comfortable with myself. I try to save them from the hate so wildly raising hell. Cause I'm the black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. This Scotland is too white, is Nigeria too black? Don't get your panties in a bunch, cause I have the right to ask. See, I'm the black sheep, cause I call it hypocrisy. And the media will give you emotions, but they will not give you honesty. Yeah, you have your feelings, but I have the crime rate. And I'ma shoot to kill if there's a danger my way. So I do not blame the cops, just the ones who are cowards, who hesitate to pull the trigger unless it is one of ours. Cause he's a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. So I put my people to death.
I want you to reach out in love. I want you to let those brothers and sisters around the base, let them know that even though the anti-whites wield so much power, that we are winning every contest with them, and that it's only a matter of time. Tell them that they can be more than they are. Tell them that they can stand up for Western kind, Western civilization, and everyone who lives in Western civilization of all immutable characteristics. Tell them that there's a way that they can stand up for it in love, with the moral high ground. Be gentle with them at first. Coming out of a story that you thought was the real world is one of the hardest things that folks can do. If you go there with a true spirit and a true heart, with humility, you're going to win more souls than you'll ever turn away. And in the end, all of that will redound to the glory of our people and the reclamation of our destiny. Good evening, America. I'm Jason, and you are watching Jason Goes Political. We have an excellent show tonight, as is always the case. Please give me some feedback on if you can hear me okay and if the visual is coming through just fine. For the sake of continuity, we are going to reserve all questions of financial gifts that are $19 or less until the end of this show. $20 and up, I will answer and speak to as soon as I see those financial gifts. You may financially gift at Entropy. You may financially gift at Cash App and at Odyssey. The links for all three of those are in the description below. Otherwise, everybody may tag me as No White Guilt in the live chats that are running. I send out a big hello to all of you, and we will go ahead and get underway here in service to white well-being. Only adding this, that you may indeed financially gift a cryptocurrency at Cash App, and you can go over to nowhiteguilt.org and financially gift there in cryptocurrency by clicking on the Financial Gifts tab. Wonderful to see you. Mystic Knight saying, love the background. Thank you so much. This was created by the one and only Fornola. And so we thank him for that. Pathetic, isn't it? How so many people across the white sympathetic sphere are so very excited about a female leader, another female leader. There are, and of course I'm talking about Giorgia Meloni and in Italy. And I'm not going to mince words, as I'm known to not mince words. And this is pathetic. If you felt an urge to suddenly support this woman, then you should smack yourself around a little bit, maybe a lot. Depends on how much of an urge you felt to hide behind her skirt. Because this is the kind of thing that men of the West never do, and women of the West never do. And that is, they champion a woman as their great leader, especially in a time such as this, especially in a time as Western civilization is being absolutely destroyed by anti-whiteism. West men are being white erased on every shore. And you turn to a woman for power. You turn to a woman to have faith. You turn to a female to defend you, as though her genetic propensities, her proclivities, when it comes to the international stage, when it comes to the welfare of our people as a whole, as though these proclivities are somehow going to inverse and become something other than what they are, and somehow serve our people in a way that a man is meant and genetically equipped, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, to be able to serve our women, to serve our men, to serve our people. It is supposed to be men, and it is a sign of our weakness. It is a sign of our sickness. It is a sign of how depraved of a race that we have become. That all that needs to happen is a woman on any coast, on any continent, to say something positive about the white race, to say something that could somehow be interpreted as another deceptive dog whistle. And suddenly, like nothing but children, and that is what they are. And if you felt it, you are nothing but a child. Scurry off to go and applaud. Yay, another girl. Another girl is going to defend us. And we're going to connect this to another girl in New Hampshire who Republicans and these are just not just the establishment placeholder Republicans, but these are the rebel MAGA Republicans. And they're all just, yay, another girl. In fact, we see from the so-called MAGA alternative right kind of folks, we see from them support of girls that aren't even white, support of girls that are non-white and actually are Zionists, which, by the way, Meloni is a Zionist. She has said so many times, but yet that doesn't matter. I saw a speech, the very first speech I saw of this little girl over there in Italy, that all of these so-called men, all of these dickless wonders are all scurrying to now. Yay, it's such a change. Yay, it's so, she's our champion. She's going to be our champion. Cowards. Saw the very first speech. And what did she say? Nothing about white people. Nothing about Western kind. She said, Italian? Well, those come in all races now, my friends. In case you haven't noticed. In case you haven't noticed, Italians come in all races. She didn't delineate. She didn't say what she was standing up for. In fact, she said she was standing up for humans. Now, I don't know if there's perhaps an Italian speaker can go listen to her speeches and see. Is she saying mankind in Italian, or is she actually saying humans? Is there a difference? Is it translated to English so that it could be mankind or humans? I mean, but when you're speaking out for humans, you are a coward in this day and age. It also speaks to how sick we've become, that you could look at something like Georgia. You could look at something like Georgia, who should be a secretary in such a cause. You could look to somebody like this and say, wow, that's the right wing. That's how things are. That's fascism. And besides, just aside from the fact how she says she's not a fascist, they're not fascists. They're not racist, she says. They're not all of these different other things, making sure that they are abiding by the dictates of anti-whiteism. They're not all of these other things. Oh, but don't you dare try to tell me. Well, she's saying as much as she can, Jason, because I will knock your teeth out, because I'm sick of hearing this cowardly garbage. You got it? Because I'm a man. Because while a woman can get up there and she can stomp her little size 5 shoe onto the floor, she can't do more than that. She can't do more. And the kind of men that are going to support this female in charge, they're no men at all. They're just boys. So you don't have to worry about them. Nothing exciting happening in Italy in this political part. Brothers, what is it? Brothers of Italy or something like this. Brothers, and there's a female in charge. Cowards. That tells me one thing about that group. None of them have testicles. None of them have balls. Because I would quit immediately if a woman was put in charge of a group that I was in, fighting in this day and age for the well-being of our people. I would quit immediately. We need a ruthless, intelligent, cutthroat men. That's what we need. The only thing that is coming out of Italy, and we're seeing indeed across the West, that we can be happy about, that we can be excited about, is that our population, and I'm talking about Western kind, we are hungry for something other than anti-whiteism. And it's not just anti-globalism. No, we want the opposite of anti-whiteism. We want anti-whites put in jail. We want anti-whites kicked out of our countries. That's what we want. We don't want somebody who's just going to be anti-globalist. We don't want somebody who's just going to be anti-consumerist. We want somebody who's going to put an end to anti-whiteism. That is what our brothers and sisters are crying out for across the West. And where they have come in contact with the key concepts that we spread here in service to white well-being, they know the words to use that give them great power. When they don't have those words, they flounder and flop around on the dock like a fish out of water without a hope in hell, at the mercy of the fisherman to do whatever he wants with it. So let's go ahead and have a look. Who is the far-right Italian leader Giorgia Meloni. Well, looky here. Boy, she's just and for one thing that's really kind of ridiculous is, or even on top of all of the other ridiculousness, is that they're talking about, well, she's young and she's pretty. Well, she might be pretty when she's made up for the camera and the lighting is just right. Grazie Italia. She might be pretty. Grazie mille Italia. She might be pretty, but she's not young. She's not young at 45 years of age. She's come into full face contact with the wall. Italy's far right, Brothers of Italy party. How fucking gay is this? This is ridiculous. The Brothers of Italy. And here's our mommy leader. Here's our mommy leader. The only thing you have to be wary of the Brothers of Italy is their overuse of the bathhouses. The Brothers of Italy party swept into victory in elections this week and is prepared to form the most conservative government in the nation since World War II. Could you imagine what the leaders of Italy, Mussolini et al., from that period would say about calling this the most conservative? Just do the math for a moment. What is going to be considered conservative in 10 years from today? What is going to be that only 50% of children should have drugs to change their gender? Only 50%, unlike the 75% that the real radicals want to push. The head of the party, and now Italy's incoming prime minister, Giorgia Meloni, has pushed for a new direction in her country centered on Italian Christian and family values. So there you have it. There you have it. I will tell you, she is a staunch supporter of NATO and the expansionist activities of NATO. I believe she supports the European Union. She is a staunch Zionist, has gone out and said many times, absolutely not anti-Semitic. She says, oh, I'm not, and she says it over and over, absolutely not anti-race, or not absolutely not racist. She's absolutely not that, not anti-Semitic. And this is what Christian nationalism gives you. No comment about race whatsoever. This generalized family values, this generalized, I'm a woman, she says. This generalized, I'm an Italian, she says. Which variety? What's an Italian? Giorgia, will you tell us? Because there's clearly two different types. There's the type that can produce Italy's, and then there is the type that can just enjoy Italy's. They can contribute, but they can't produce Italy's, right? Right, Giorgia? Is she going to have the balls to say it? Is she going to have the balls when the pressure is on from all angles? Women usually don't. What happens when she starts having those hot flashes? Meloni, 45, is set to become Italy's first female premier. She's a far-right firebrand from Rome. By the way, I don't know if it's going to say in this article or not, but she is the daughter of a single mother. She grew up without a man in her life. No father figure in this woman's life, from what I've read about her. No father figure. So what do you think she thinks about men? What's the valuation she puts on men? And in particular, white men. What's the value she puts? By the way, her positions that she's held all the way until being the head of this party has always been in charge of the youth division, which seems like something that is kind of innocuous. A woman would be able to be in charge of the youth division. Except no, because clearly in this day and age, you have too many males that are gelded and they just want to stand behind a woman's skirt. You should be very suspicious of males that champion female leaders, because they're the same kind of males that want them wearing leather and wearing a big strap on to bend them over the bed that they're allowed to sleep in, sometimes when she says it's okay. God almighty. This is Western kind. This is the white race. Far-right firebrand from Rome, who's known for a line she delivered at a 2019 rally, quote, "I am Georgia. I am a woman. I am a mother. I am an Italian. I am a Christian. Universalist to no end." It's Christian, totally universalism. Has she come out and said, "Oh, absolutely not. Christianity is this radical religion that we're gonna have the same Christianity that waged the Crusades"? Has she said that? No, I haven't been able to find it. So she's an Italian universalist. It means anyone of any race, anybody who can get in there and get the citizenship. Well, she's a mother. Good for you. And this is another thing that women will do. They think their position, because they do far less thinking than they do emoting, I guess you could say, but it's all emotions for them. So they think that what they are, I guess you could say, they think that what they are provides value or legitimacy to what comes out of their mouth or what they put down on a piece of paper. It doesn't. It doesn't. You only think it does because you're not actually thinking. You just are having emotions go through your brain. And you think that those are thought. They're not thought, cupcake. They're called emotions. Being a mother and being a woman doesn't mean jack shit. You know what would mean something? You could say you are a woman of the West. You could say, "I'm a white woman." No, she didn't say that though, did she? "I'm Georgia. I'm a woman. I like flowers and walks on the beach." And then all these loser puppy-like boys out there. "Oh, yay, yay. Can I be bent over?" She echoed a similar theme during a Monday speech in which she declared victory for Brothers of Italy and announced her conservative populist agenda for her country. You know what Brothers of Italy should do right now? Fire her. They got the position, they got the votes, and now, cupcake, you're fired. We're going to get a man in there that's going to be able to take the heat that's going to come from all sides. And it's really going to have to be a badass, because as you can see, so many are just cowards. So many are just cravens. So many are just willing to surrender. "We will defend God, country, and family," Meloni declared. What do those things mean? See, these are deceptive dog whistles. Those things that disgust people so much, we will do it to defend our freedom because we will never be slaves and simple consumers. Is that really the problem? Is the problem that what's being waged upon us is just to make us consumers? Is that what matters? You know what? I don't give a shit. I would be fine with being a consumer in a Western country that looked out for Westmen, looked out for the destiny of our people. I would be fine producing and consuming in that environment, because it would be doing what? It would be putting the flesh ahead of everything else, the people ahead of everything else. She's not talking about that. I wonder why. Consumers at the mercy of financial speculators. This is our mission. And that right there sounds like total antiquity to me. This is our mission. Guess what? Guess what, Georgia? The white race, and specifically white men, have developed a lot of technology, and the world is connected by this technology forevermore. It's not going away, which means that businesses which means that wealthy people are going to do business across the borders of countries. It means that they're going to come into your country. We need a revolution of thought that doesn't attempt to roll back the inevitable as a consequence of our technology, but instead incorporates it and makes it its bitch. This is our mission. This is why I came here today. Fears of ultra-conservative Italian government, ultra-conservative. Under Meloni's rule rippled across the Western world, with European leaders watching the new government with discomfort and vigilance. Italy is a founding member of the European Union and boasts the third largest economy in the 27-member nation bloc. The Brothers of Italy rise to power comes after other far-right parties in France and Sweden have also gained political ground. Now, that's something you can actually be excited about, because that's not the population saying, we want a multiracial Italy, we want a multiracial Sweden, we want a multiracial France. That's not them saying that. You know, as long as we have family values, that's not them saying that. What they are saying is, we hate what is destroying us. And if they don't have the verbiage to call it what it is, it's because primarily anti-whites have been blocking our ability to get the information to them so that they know what to call it and are empowered thereby. But we're gaining ground there. And it's because me-nots in the white sympathetic sphere also get in the way of us getting the information out there, because they are as limp-dicked and small-brained as people can possibly get. At a White House briefing Monday, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, who can't think, she actually can't think. It's a giant notebook, and she's just going through what other people have prepared for her, said the Biden administration would not engage in any hypotheticals. What are you talking about? What are you even talking about? You are there because you are non-white and anti-white. You can't think. You have proven yourself in the first week to be utterly incompetent of stringing a sentence together on your own without finding it in your giant binder. What are you? We're not going to be engaged in hypotheticals about the election outcome, but promise to continue cooperation. We will work with the new Italian government on a full range of shared global changes. Meloni was born in 1977 to a working-class family in Garbaletta, Rome, where, and it's actually the law, you have to say it like that, where she was raised by a single mother. It does say it here. Meloni's political roots stretch back to her teenage years as a member of the youth wing of the Italian social movement, MSI, which was formed after World War II by supporters of Benito Mussolini, a fascist dictator who supported Nazi Germany. Now, do you think, after the defeat of Mussolini's Italy, that they would allow a party that essentially would be the same thing without them controlling it? Because if you do, I have some oceanfront property in Kansas I'd like to sell you. Get out your checkbook, dumbass. A few years after MSI morphed into the National Alliance in the 90s, Meloni was appointed president of the political party's youth movement. She became a member of parliament at the age of 29 when AN merged with the center-right party Forza Italia. Meloni was tapped as a minister in charge of the party's youth wing in 2008 under Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's cabinet. Meloni, co-founder of the Brothers of Italy party, after Berlusconi was ousted from power in 2011, says she had grown discontented with outside European forces meddling in Italy's politics. She became president of the party in 2014 and led through, yada, yada, yada. Her party uses the MSI logo of the red, white, and green tricolor flame, a symbol shared by Mussolini's National Fascist Party. However, Meloni and the Brothers of Italy have danced carefully around questions about the former dictator who is widely abhorred in Italy. Yeah, anybody who's going to say now, oh, she's dog whistling to us, she's actually hardcore like Mussolini fan, and you're a dumbass. Anybody who thinks that, you're an absolute shit-brained, backward, stop sharing your opinion, dumbass. Meloni's rise was celebrated by Republican lawmakers in the U.S. No shit, because it's all about ignoring the white race. Her speech this week hinted at familiar talking points from America's GOP, including railing against mass immigration and LGBTQ plus rights. Quote, "The time has arrived," Meloni said on Monday. "We are ready." All right. Well, I guess we'll see whether you are ready or not. And then we'll see all of these midget sticks who want to wear the ball gag for a female in charge. We'll see them begin making their excuses for how she can only do so much. She can only do so much. That's how they'll do it too. Now, how does this relate to the United States? Well, it relates to the United States in a very big way. Why? Because the men here in the United States and the women are just as diseased as they are in Italy and everywhere else in Western civilization. They can't pick a good leader to save their ass if they were absolutely getting fed to a wood chipper in that very moment. They cannot do it. They absolutely cannot do it. So who is this woman we're going to be talking about here in just a moment? Who is this? Another example. Karoline Leavitt. Leavitt is her name in New Hampshire. Now, before we get to her, you all are probably thinking, is this the woman who our very own No White Guilt Clips dominated because he's a real man? Is this the woman that was unable to speak to what he shouted in the midst of her speech in that restaurant? It is indeed. But first, we're going to take a brief look back to No White Guilt Clips' massive success, dominating Jeff Deal, running for governor, Republican, dominating him in a meeting that they had at a restaurant, asking him questions using the lexicon as we said here. And I am ready, willing and able to gift $100 to the next person who is able to pull off exactly what No White Guilt Clips pulled off. We articulated it here for the first time. It had never been done like this, never anywhere else, never with this kind of success, my friends. You have here the best and the brightest. No more conversation about that. Success is the proof of it. The best and the brightest. And I articulated a program for success, and heroes have stepped up to implement that strategy out in the field, in the combat zone of modern day politics, dominating. No White Guilt Clips. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at this.
Against anti-whiteism as governor?
I'm not sure what that question is.
We are being victimized on the basis of our race. It's undeniable. I mean,
I think we all agree on equality. It's equality for everybody.
Including white people? Will you say?
Look at how magnificent this is. Immediately goes at this guy, talking about, are you going to stand up against anti-whiteism? You can see the look on his face. He knows exactly what that is. He didn't have to hear it before. He didn't have to see it in a dictionary, didn't have to hear it anywhere else before. And it works. Why does it work? Because a genius sitting here right in front of you figured it out, didn't even know that it had been taken out of the dictionary years earlier. We since found it, Final Blossom finding it in a 50-year-old dictionary for us. And now that being promulgated by that champion's work, put it in the field and saw that the reason and the logic that I implemented to determine whether or not this would work worked in the field. Folks at every level in my white collar and blue collar jobs were able to immediately know what it was and adopt it immediately when they wanted to stand up for our people. Immediately were able to adopt this. This guy immediately knew what it meant. And then what did he do? The typical fallback for every Republican and conservative content creator and politician, wannabe politician, is to play dumb. And the reason why that's their fallback in every case is because they actually are dumb, aside from the criminal anti-whiteism that they exhibit. Don't know what that is. Well, it's easy to explain. And No White Guilt Clips explains it to this moron, this anti-white moron. By the way, anything else that could have been brought to this guy, any other, well, it's the social Marxism and physical communist implementation of the strategy of Lenin. No, dumbass, that would not have worked. Stop thinking if you were one of those people that continue to suggest that sort of garbage. No White Guilt Clips is able to educate this guy in 2 seconds to keep him on point, because you only have so much time to have these conversations, only so many things that you can debate and educate in those precious seconds. He gets right back to the point. And then this guy has to say, typical anti-white Republican, oh, well, we care about equality. That's not what he said, dumbass. That's not what he asked. And then when this guy says, oh, we care about everybody, we like equality, No White Guilt Clips back in there again, including white people, right, putting him right back on the spot like a prize fighter from hell. And like a prize fighter from hell, a perfect segue, actually punches with words spit out of this man's mouth. When has that happened with any other approach? We'll wrap up how this coward flees from the scene, and we've talked about it elsewhere, and you want to watch and you can find out from these champs. No White Guilt Clips actually begins converting people who were observing this interaction, including a woman who was so anti-white that when she heard him ask about the well-being of white people, she said, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And by the end of the conversation he had with her, she was saying, oh yeah, I totally see your point. You're right. Somebody should stand up against this anti-whiteism. Wonder how much success he would have had. Wonder how much success Clips would have had he gone at this with any other strategy out there. Ding none. Ding none. He would have looked like a demon. He would have looked like a trailer-dwelling loser down by the river if he had used any other strategy, if his thoughts had been anywhere else, if his focus had been anywhere else. But instead, he kicks ass.
Mr. Deal, do you care about white people? The well-being of white people?
It's been nice talking to you. This line of questioning is a little inappropriate. Yeah.
Little inappropriate. Asking about the welfare of white people. That's a little inappropriate. You know what? You know what would have happened? If Clips had gone up there and said, let me tell you about jaywalkers. Then when he said that's inappropriate, everyone in the universe would have agreed with him. Everyone in the universe, because it is totally inappropriate. Because it is despicable to condemn an entire group of mankind when you don't want your group to be condemned and victimized. Any other approach, if he had gone up there and said, are you going to stand up against the New World Order? Everybody on planet Earth would have laughed and said, who was that absolute dork who asked the politician, is he going to oppose the New World Order? If he had gone up there and said, are you going to be in Israel first? If he had gone up there and said that, everybody would have laughed at him. Then the Israelis and supporters would have found out exactly who Clips is, and they would have made sure that his life was ended from there forward. Never another job. His whole family would say, how dare you go after the most persecuted people in the history of mankind? The gallant little ally in the Middle East. How much good does that do for us? How much good? I ask you. Zero. Well, you got to go out there and you just got to keep pushing that same thing and keep ruining your lives. That's what you got to do. No. In fact, that's not what you do at all. In fact, you act like no white guilt clips, because not only did he do this once, he got this in. He didn't get an opportunity to get this close with this little girl, Karoline, just like Giorgia over there in Italy. Carolinas, just like Georgia and Italy. It's getting confusing. He didn't get an opportunity to get up to her. Do you know why? Because anti-white Republican thugs forced him out of the building. How many people across the white sympathetic sphere are talking about that? You know, if you're looking for somebody to be disgusting, like that guy down in Australia, that all he does is talk about other races of people and talk about harming other races of people. Then he takes a thug friend with him, and they go and physically assault a impeccably dressed, respectable black security guard. They go and attack him from behind. If you find yourself cheering for that, you are shit. You are a garbage human being. You can get better, though. You've got to go free of that shit. You got to stop celebrating things that are despicable and ugly and disgusting and harm our people and absolutely prevent us from ever recapturing our destiny. You've got to cleanse yourself, my friends. And here, you don't go through any tub for baptism. You go through fire, because you got to get rid of that anti-whiteism that would cause you to celebrate something so ugly and despicable, but then ignore the heroism of something that is effective and works, and knocked the spit out of a politician. The spit out of him. He would have had no problem flattening your ass had you talked about black crime rates or Jewish control of this or that. He'd have no problem flattening your ass, and then the rest of hundreds of millions of white people would have agreed with him. But when you have a champ in service to white well-being, something that matters, something that changes lives, do this, you have fucking crickets. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's the fault of the people who are determining what they think is valuable and what's not valuable. Well, the day is going to come. The days, because things are just going to get worse and worse. And when you're putting Georgias out there as your great Meloni, as the great line of defense, the anti-whites are going to come right through those skirts, my friends. They're going to come right through those skirts. What a joke, too, to have these people who would look to, speaking of that country, somebody like a Mussolini, and then say, this is the natural heir to that. How about some more females? We got them in France. We got them in Sweden. We got them all over the place. How about some more females? How about some more women up there? This is what a man does before the Republican anti-white goons drag him out of the building. This, my friends, is, what was her, Karoline?
The election in November is about one thing: stopping the radical Biden, Pelosi, papist, socialist agenda in its tracks that has been ripping off hardworking families like yours and mine every single day.
Is it socialist or is it anti-white?
Our
Bam, bitches!
Opponent, Chris Pappas,
Bam.
is an expert at the typical Washington, D.C. political game.
I want you to take a look at this one guy.
Democrat opponent.
Look at this guy. When I first watched this, I didn't know if this guy was mad or...
Chris.
Look at his lips. Look at his lips. The guy on the right. His corners of his lips are upturned. This white guy is agreeing with no white guilt clips. And how many others in that audience, how many others are thinking, yeah, I've never heard it called anti-white before. I've never heard anti-whiteism before, but that's exactly what it is. And these people, just like all of our brothers and sisters in Italy, they want to vote for that which puts an end to their victimization. They just need the words to empower them. This guy right here on the far right, he's smiling. You can actually see that these voters, what they want is an end to anti-whiteism. They don't need an end to socialism. Don't allow Republicans to get away with this shit anymore, especially these MAGA-endorsed Republicans. Do not allow them to get away with this. It's not socialism. It's not communism. It's anti-whiteism. And the word is anti-white. Never use the anti-white slur concept, racism. That is what destroyed Western civilization. And anyone wanting you to use that word racism, either through ignorance or malice, wants to perpetuate that destruction. Stand up against it. Look at that guy. He is clearly happy with no white guilt clips. If we hold their feet to the fire, exactly as I articulated here, with the concepts that we provide in the Go Free method, we will move the dial. We will be able to recapture our destiny. There's no other way. Stop pissing around, cowards. Stop being little bitches hiding behind females.
Pappas is an expert at the typical Washington, D.C. political game, pledging to be for one thing, but voting for another.
There you have it, a real man. That's how a real man acts. That's what a real man looks like, ladies and gentlemen. He stands up against anti-whiteism, even and especially when it's coming from MAGA endorsed and supported candidates. Those are the ones you want to go after. Forget about the others. Those are the ones you want to put on the spot, because those are the ones we can move. Those are the ones that we'll discover, including that little girl, that little cupcake. Those are the ones that we'll discover. If you start speaking the secret thoughts of your voters, they will vote for you. Let me pull up. Is it over there? No. Right there. Who is Karoline Leavitt, GOP nominee for U.S. House in New Hampshire? Well, take a look at this. Oh, what do you know? It's another little girl. This one is actually young. And this one is actually attractive. Unlike they're talking about Giorgia in Italy, who's not old and not attractive. Well, maybe the issue is that the people who are calling her attractive are looking for the dominatrix. Maybe that's the issue. Let's find out who she is. We'll take a quick look at this article. Then we're going to ask ourselves, what in the hell is Republican-endorsed Mastriano in Pennsylvania doing? He's pulling a Biden. But let's take a quick look at this. This is this little cupcake. Leavitt. Here she is. Now, is this really your champion here? Where's the other picture? Let's see if I can. There we go. Oh, there she is. Look at her right there. Oh, Karoline for Congress. It's so cute, isn't it? It's such a cute little campaign. Somebody buy the lemonade she's selling. Will somebody buy some cups of lemonade from her? Now she worked for Trump. There she is. Oh, will somebody buy some lemonade from her little lemonade stand? You do know, I mean, by the looks of the desk, she's like 5 feet tall. In an age where we need a fighter who is also a genius, a man who is a fighter who can physically fight and is a genius. This is what everybody's supporting. This is the MAGA candidate. This woman here. Who's going to get to her and then have a little conversation? Are you going to fight anti-whiteism? Karoline Leavitt, a 25-year-old former Trump White House staffer who embraced the former president's baseless claim, writes the Washington Post, of a stolen election, won the Republican primary Tuesday for New Hampshire's 1st congressional district, according to the Associated Press. Do you see what I'm trying to ram home here with as passionate as I can be, with love for our people? Do you see what I'm driving home here? The problem is the people. The problem is the folks. The problem is the voters who will support something like this and celebrate something like this rather than a real man in office. What do you think the odds would be if a real man like me ran in the primary up there in New Hampshire? What do you think the odds are that he would do well compared to this cupcake? I think not good. So we have to account for the cowardice, the abject cowardice in the body politic as we attempt to, and we're talking about politics here, as we attempt to move within the political sphere as much as can be moved, to move the dial as much as that dial can be moved. We have to account for the cowardice. What does this tell you? You can't have a radical party. First of all, a party is not going to be able to be formed in the United States. But you cannot have some hardcore talking men, because the population is a population of pussies. That's the problem. If the population would vote for aggressive men, you would be seeing them. And they would be, the anti-whites would be compromising them to the best of their ability. The powerful anti-whites. Instead, you see the will of this sick population here in the US, in Canada, in Sweden, in France, in Italy, everywhere you look. This is what you get. A 25-year-old little girl Leavitt became the second Gen Z candidate to win a congressional primary this year and will face Chris Pappas in the general election for the seat that Republicans see as one of their best opportunities to flip in their bid to regain the House majority. In her victory speech Tuesday night, Leavitt attacked both Democrats and the Washington establishment, recalling how she had started her campaign with no name recognition, no money, and little chance of defeating Republican Matt Mowers, who ran against Pappas in 2020, but lost by 5 percentage points. Leavitt said, "They said I was too young." You are. "We could never raise the money to compete." No, you can, because the population is full of pussies. "And that we could never beat a former Republican nominee." Well, of course you can, because people are sick and tired of voting for these Republican placeholders. They want something different. And that's why those of us here with a brain are going to do what we can to make sure that these MAGA Republicans, these rebel Republicans, are something different. They're going to say our name, or they're not going to talk politically at all. That's got to be the goal. Because if not, if we don't get the power to do that, if there aren't still people with money out there that are still men and women of the West, if there are none of them out there and they can't come to us and we can't make this happen on a bigger and bigger and bigger scale, then what you're going to get in these MAGA Republicans is the exact same thing you have in the rest of the placeholder Republicans. People who will sit on their asses and maintain their seats. Use tools that always lose, which is what we see in the Republicans. They will just lose tools that always lose. And then they'll get up there at the lectern. I mean, I felt embarrassed when I saw her up there shouting, and then all of these people there, yay, and let's get a video of her. Boy, this is like a historic event. We chose the littlest, youngest girl in town to lead us. In Christ's sake. Mowers, 33, who worked on Donald Trump's 2016 campaign before joining his administration, also campaigned on his youth, vowing to bring a new generation of conservative leadership to Washington. A new generation of conservative leadership. Each new generation, what they're conserving is more and more anti-whiteism. You know, there were conservatives that would have never quoted MLK. Now they worship him, knees on ground, mouth wide open. That's a conservative today. Do we really need younger and younger conservatives? A new generation? Nevertheless, Leavitt attacked him as someone who had been the GOP establishment's hand-picked puppet. With 95% of the votes counted, Leavitt had about 35% of the vote to Mowers' 25%. So you had a male against a female, and the pussies chose a female. They both worked for Trump. Boy, we got a sick population. We got a sick population. This is so wretched. All around the world in Western civilization. Gail Huffing Brown, a broadcast journalist, came in third, about 18% of the vote. About half dozen other candidates in the crowded race trailed them. The bitter primary campaign between Leavitt and Mowers divided GOP leadership. Mowers was endorsed by House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy as a tough and tested conservative, as well as by House Minority Whip Steve Scalise. Matt Schlapp, chairman of the Conservative Republican Action Committee. Leavitt, the former communications director, backed by House GOP Conference chairwoman and Ted Cruz. Okay. Quote, I was proud to support Karoline early on in her race. This is so precious. Our existence, our civilization, our future, defended by a broad smiling cupcake at 5 feet tall. It never ceases to amaze me that, I mean, we have this meme that I've shared a couple times. I'll put it on the screen again, maybe here. Thucydides, the society that separates its scholars from its warriors, will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting by fools. No cure could speak more directly to the sickness affecting Western kind today, the sickness that we are afflicted with. You have these, a warrior spirit is not going to be found in a crippled body. A warrior spirit is not going to be found in a pretty, bubbly, cheerful little girl. A warrior spirit is only going to be found in men of the West, as far as our race is concerned, warriors in other races for sure. They actually have warriors far more than we have now. Is only going to be found in one of our men, and it's going to have to be steeled over a crucible of challenge in their lives. That's where you're going to find a warrior spirit. And it's not going to be found automatically or as a consequence of military or military service. And this day has called for a military spirit. Both Leavitt and Mowers proudly advertise their experience in the Trump administration. She as a White House assistant press secretary, and he as a senior White House advisor in the State Department, but differed when it came to parroting Trump's false claim that the 2020 presidential election was rigged. Leavitt wholeheartedly embraced it, saying she believed it was Trump who had won, while Mowers expressed concerns about the 2020 election, but acknowledged that President Biden got the most votes. Trump did not endorse either candidate. She's obviously, though, the MAGA candidate, or the rebel Republican candidate, if you will. And so therefore, MAGA supporters, or people who would consider themselves MAGA, are supporting her. Trump did not endorse either candidate in the primary race, but was quick to tout Leavitt's win Wednesday. Amazing job by Karoline Leavitt in her great New Hampshire victory, Trump said in a post in his social media platform, increasingly censored. Against all odds, she did it. And we're so proud of that little girl. Just make sure that no girls that were born as guys are competing, because then the girls will just have the shit kicked out of them. Jeopardy, swimming, fighting. Against all odds, she did it, and will have an even greater victory on November 8th. Wonderful energy and wisdom. Trump wouldn't come in and say that about a true warrior. Until he does. I mean, we're going to have to just wait and see. This is Karoline Leavitt. Karoline and Giorgia. This is Western civilization. Don't you all think you're going to sleep sounder and sleep better now, knowing that Karoline and Giorgia are at the gates? Don't you feel better? Don't you feel like everything's going to be just okay now? If you do, you need therapy. Let's go ahead and have a look real quick, and I'll take a look at what you all are doing and saying. We're going to take a look at, in just a moment, Mastriano. What's going on with this guy? What kind of approach is this that he's implementing? Doug Mastriano. Let me see if you all are saying anything. Over here on Entropy, a true champion, a true leader in the West, Yiz, the eunuch and unifier, financially gifting $3. God bless you, sister. I looked into the Italian today and found a couple bad things. She is pro-vaccination, and she is pushing for digital ID passports. You hear that, folks? All you got to do is pick up the hood on these people. Just pick up the hood. Just peek under the hood. Peek under the hood. All over the white sympathetic sphere, you have folks effusive with joy about Giorgia. So she goes on to say, a real champ here goes on to say, like all politicians, I will remain skeptical and judge her by her deeds. Kip. Exactly, Yiz. Exactly. And that's the exact same thing we said about Trump. What ended up happening for us, as opposed to so many others across the white sympathetic sphere? When Trump came into office, we said we're going to support the deeds that benefit Western kind. Everybody who jumped in and became Trump supporters, and there were a lot of them, then had to eat crow, as they say, as Trump again and again, and they had to make excuses again and again for every failure, for everything he didn't follow through on, for everything. And we recognize that he had opposition, and we recognize from the Democrats, we recognize he had opposition within the party, Republican Party. We made suggestions. I never got a phone call from Donald Trump's team Probably because they're all cowards and they're looking for little Carolines and little Georgias out there to come help them. And by the way, do you ever notice this with Trump? So many of he like goes out of his way to find women with high IQs that are also attractive. Bottom line is, it doesn't matter what a woman's IQ is. She is still afflicted with a genetic propensity, in my opinion, to care for children rather than to dominate oppositions, rather than to take on other tribes over the millennia, that now can be translated into combating other parties, that now can be translated into combating anti-whites. What good? What good is a high IQ female put in a role where she has to be able to come to very aggressive conclusions that are just not even possible? That's why you don't see the landscape full of businesses started by women. That's why we could go on and on. They got no problem, women. Who was the most ruthless tyrant in all of history, the most bloodthirsty? Rama Bologna, a woman, in my opinion. Look her up. And a lot of historians' opinions as well. Women have no problem being absolutely merciless tyrants to their subjects. No problem whatsoever. But when it comes to competitors, man, it's a lot of capitulation. It's a lot of where can I get on my back and open my legs? When it comes to those beneath her, it's nothing but ruthless, bloodthirsty tyranny. So yeah, we will judge Georgia by her acts and her deeds. I don't expect much, but thank you very much, he is. And we have Save Western Civilization, financially gifting $10. God bless you. Thank you so much. Writes here, she's better than the other options in Western Europe. Nothing more. I don't get excited for any politician anymore. My naive hope is that white male leaders across Europe guide her in her role. I agree, though, that the fawning over any politician, especially a Zionist woman, is very cringe. Oh, it is robustly cringe. Indeed. Yeah, there aren't any male politicians that are going to like guide her. She's not going to allow herself to be led by a man. She came up with without a man in her life. She came up with a single mother who had what? You all know what she had. A revolving door for uncles, a revolving door for mom's friends, men who came in and stayed a while and had fun with mom and then moved on. So mom was always in charge. Mom probably spoke endlessly negative things about men in the world, right? What happened to Georgia's father? Why is he out of the picture? I automatically conclude, based on the data and lived experience, that she ran him off. Gone are the days of this trope that every time you find a single woman, it's because the man took off with like some other woman or didn't want to have a child and just left. Bullshit. That's called media. Women hold the power in the West. The odds are, far and away, that she ran off the husband. The odds are far and away that she had a revolving door of men coming through her life and that she badmouthed to her daughter. So she's not going to be taking the lead or following the lead of any men, as though any of the men really are fighters that are in political positions these days. So many of them are compromisers. But yeah, you're in the right place with not getting excited about politicians, and especially a little cupcake. A little cupcake. She's 45, but she's still a cupcake. Yeah, it's magnificently cringe. And look all over the white sympathetic sphere, and you see so many of these folks who live out their service, what they think is a service to our people, by looking hardcore in the rear view mirror as they drive right off the cliff. And you see so many of them are just effusive over this woman. We have here No White Guilt Clips, the mega champion. Let's get out our 07s, and our raucous emojis for this champ. $25 financial gift, and he gives with that $25 07 a big salute. A big salute to you, my brother. You're the one who are making these things happen in the real world, the only one so far. And so for that, don't let him, folks, don't let him be the only one. He's just the only one so far. He's the one to get started. Get out there and be the next if you have it within you. Great to see everybody. What is this? Conservatives are falling all over themselves to put forth any candidate who can check a progressive identity box. It's embarrassing. Oh, yeah, it completely is. That's over there on Odyssey. Is it Scipio? Thank you for that comment. Hello to everybody on D Live as well. And let me check over here. I'm going to get to our final article. Our final article. We do want to mention that we had on Sunday that 2 financial gifts that came in late, just as I was wrapping up the show on Sunday. That's Going Free gatherings on Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They start. And the first of those 2 was $10 financial gift. And written here with that $10 is from former First Lady of the American Theater. Well, thank you so very much, First Lady of the American Theater, for those $10. And we always get to those financial gifts, even if they come in at the very end of or after I wrap up a show or Going Free gathering. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. The other one that came in just a hair late was Art Acrobats, another champ, $3.09 he financially gifted. And he says with those wonderful white well-being dollars for gargantuan fake breasts for anti-white teachers. Yes, $3.09 for gargantuan fake breasts for anti-white teachers. Thank you so much, Art Acrobats. And today, and folks, when you see them, if you see them in a live chat, let both of those folks know that we got to their financial gifts here today on Jason Goes Political. They should make it, if they haven't already, a part of their lives every Tuesday starting at 7. We have here Ace, I will call you, $20 financial gift. Thank you so much, Ace. $20. Raucous emojis 07s for Ace. And she writes here, may Western kind stop being weak and scared. $20 financial gift. She writes, may Western kind stop being weak and scared. God bless you. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Part of the problem, of course, is that we're so weak that we're looking for little girls to stand up for us, even when they're 45. God bless you for that. And we have the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, the great 4-0, maker of this studio. Also, we played one of his best songs, one of my favorites at the beginning of the show today. $10 financial gift from 4-0. And he says, for kicking ass like usual. Amen. Good, brother. I appreciate it. Yep, I kicked their ass. I kicked their ass both physically and mentally. And that's why there are so many me-nots out there. So jealous. So jealous. All right, let's get to this final. What's going on with Doug Mastriano? There's more time as I go through this article. You've got time to get your questions or comments in. And tag me if you have anything in the live chat that you would like me to see or speak to, or you can head on over to Entropy to the Tall Kevin widget, also known as the question widget, and write it there. It won't disappear. Doug Mastriano, he's the MAGA Republican running up there in Pennsylvania. Doug Mastriano's sputtering campaign. No TV ads, tiny crowds, little money. Writes Epstein. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. In the same spot where he spoke to thousands of people at a raucous state capitol rally. Now, how much do you want to bet if we were to go back and see what Epstein was writing about Mastriano back then, if he referred to it as thousands of people? I'm going to go ahead and bet that this Epstein is a lying anti-white bastard and will go both directions at once because they both arrive at anti-white conclusions. How much do you want to bet? You see, so many of these anti-whites are too slippery, wily and intelligent for most white people who are in the white sympathetic sphere. But here I am, and I can take care of this for you. You just have to put faith in me like you would in your mother's heart surgeon. In a raucous state capitol rally demanding an end to the pandemic restrictions in April 2020, Doug Mastriano appeared on Saturday before a crowd of just a few dozen, about half of whom were volunteers for his ragtag campaign for governor of Pennsylvania. And there he is right there. It's not looking epic, buddy. That's not looking epic. You know what could make it epic is you hire me. That's what could make it epic. And then you start saying what I tell you to say. And then you would have national media come in. They would repeat what I tell you to say because they have no choice. What I tell you to say, repeated by them, would then be picked up by the population in Pennsylvania of all immutable characteristics who are sick and tired of anti-whiteism. And then you become governor. And then you could hire me again to be sort of your consigliere in the great state of Pennsylvania. And we can go ahead and get rid of anti-whiteism there. How does that sound? And I mean hardcore style. No getting around with these people. Mr. Mastriano, an insurgent state senator who is in the spring crusade to the Republican nomination, is learning this fall that while it is one thing to win a crowded GOP primary on the back of online fame and Donald J. Trump's endorsement, it is quite another to prevail in a general election in a battleground state of nearly 13 million people. He is being heavily outspent by his Democratic rival, has had no television ads on the air since May, has chosen not to interact with the state's news media in ways that would push his agenda, and trails by double digits. Doesn't that sound exactly like Biden when Biden ran for president? This guy's not doing anything. He's not doing anything. How is he going to win? In reputable public polling and most private surveys. Really, cite them all for me, Epstein. There's no sign of cavalry coming to his aid either. The Republican Governors Association, which is helping the party's nominees in Arizona, Michigan, and 6 other states, has no current plans to assist Mastriano, according to people with knowledge of its deliberations. The Pennsylvania governor's race is perhaps the most consequential in the country. So why aren't the rest of the Republicans there trying to make it happen? Well, because Mastriano is a MAGA Republican, and obviously establishment Republican, placeholder Republicans, people who are just there to hold their seats and to keep getting the fame and the sex parties and etc. Those folks, and make no mistake, it's rumors, of course, just rumors all over the hill about how absolutely debased Republican politicians are. They don't want a rebel in their midst. Mr. Mastriano, a retired Army colonel who chartered buses to the January 6th Patriots Day, has vowed to ban abortion without exception. Now, that's just dumb. That is just so remarkably dumb. This is another consequence, and you see, And this story ties right in. So we started with Italy. We tied that into New Hampshire. Then we tied that into Pennsylvania. And now in Pennsylvania, we're tying it back into Italy across the Atlantic. And by the way, really quickly talking about that, our hearts and thoughts and prayers and energy to our brothers and sisters on the Atlantic Canadian coast who suffered a horrific hurricane that nothing is being said about. This is what I'm told. And they have apparently privation there, and it's a white population. So maybe that's the reason nothing's being said. And same to our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers to our brothers and sisters down in the once great state of Florida, who are facing down a hurricane traveling at them warp speed. We hope everybody will be okay. We tie this back into Italy. Now, what's the connection there? Christian nationalism. I told you all, and you'll see it fall apart exactly as I said. It won't take forever for Christian nationalism to fall apart. But I told you all, Christian nationalism has come, it's recurred, it's renascent again. And you're going to see it fail all over again. It's the same, it's like watching a movie that you've already seen for the 115th time, and then you're still shocked. Why did it end the same way? How could it always end the same? Because all of the ingredients are the same. In fact, the ingredients are worse now, much worse. And so you see in Italy where they're able to have this proxy position of Christianity defending a spot on the body politic that's not being attacked. If you go into the octagon for a fist fight and your opponent is punching you in the face, but you guard against punches in your stomach, you are retarded. You are a retardus. That phone booth, a retardus, and you are going to lose the fight. That is why Republicans and conservatives, they always lose. They choose these proxy positions to defend against, and they always lose. They choose things that are not actually being attacked, because if you choose something that's actually attacked, then you actually have to defend. It's much easier to defend a spot on the body politic that is not being attacked. Just like you get in the octagon and you protect that stomach while all your teeth are knocked out and your jaws wrapped around the side of your head. Well done. Christian nationalism. Well, what happens when you have people who support something called Christian nationalism? They have a myriad of interpretations. Now, again, this is no shade. This is throwing no shade on loyal and honorable and heroic Christians who have their beliefs about Christianity and they feel these are the right beliefs. Maybe those are the right beliefs. Maybe you've got it right, but you cannot deny that there are myriad interpretations making it infinite. It's already been compromised, Christianity, the world over, by anti-whites. Myriad definitions, descriptions, understandings of a compromised ideology, compromised 6 ways to Sunday, totally apropos right there. And people will take things various ways. So now you end up with a guy who, running for governor in Pennsylvania, and says no abortion under any circumstances. That's part of his platform. How many people, even Christians, don't want raped women to have to give birth to the rapist child? Even Christians out there don't want a woman to have to die by giving birth. How much sense does this position make? And then it says here, he pledged to enact sweeping new voting restrictions. Now, voting restrictions, I wonder what those are. It's probably you need an ID. Now, what if Mastriano instead of talking about, no, every victim of rape is going to have the rapist's baby, and then those two people can fight over for the rest of the child's life. Imagine dealing with your rapist for the rest of your life. That sounds like fun. Well done, Mastriano. Instead of talking about something so asinine, what if instead he was talking about anti-whiteism and white erasure, things that are palpable and everywhere to see, and every moral person is going to say, well, that's objectionable. What if instead he was talking about that? He would be likely to accomplish those measures given the He would be likely to accomplish those measures given the Republican advantage in the state legislature. But the stakes aren't apparent based on Mastriano's limited resources. There's little indication that he has built a campaign infrastructure beyond the Facebook videos that propelled him to stardom in right-wing circles and to the vanguard of Christian nationalist politics. I can't even assess things because I don't see a campaign, said Matt Bruyette, the president of Commonwealth Partners Chamber of Entrepreneurs, an advocacy group that is a major player in Pennsylvania's Republican politics. I've not seen anything that is even a semblance of a campaign. Mr. Bruyette, who backed one of Mr. Mastriano's rivals in the GOP primary, added, now maybe he knows something we don't on how you can win in the fifth largest state without doing TV or mail. But I guess we're going to have to wait until November 8th to see whether you can pull something like that off. Well, you know, I mean, it worked largely for Biden. Mr. Bruyette's organization is the only one to air any television ads attacking Josh Shapiro, the state's attorney general who won the Democratic primary for governor uncontested, even as he spent $400,000 to help lift Mastriano to victory in the Republican primary. But while Commonwealth Partners Political Action Committee has paid for 811 television ads urging Pennsylvanians to, quote, vote Republican against Mr. Shapiro, the Democratic nominee's campaign has broadcast more than 23,000 ads promoting himself and attacking Mastriano since the May primary, according to Ad Impact, a media tracking firm. Republicans elsewhere who, with Trump's endorsement, won primaries against the wishes of their local political establishments are facing similar disparities in TV advertising in the final weeks of the midterm campaigns. Along with Mastriano in Pennsylvania, Trump-backed candidates for governor in 5 other states, Arizona, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, and Michigan, have combined to air 0 television advertisements since winning their primaries. That's wholesale war by the Republican establishment on all of these rebel Republicans, all of these MAGA Republicans. It's just wholesale war on them. That doesn't mean that the rebel Republicans are good or that the rebel Republicans will give you anything different than you would get from the establishment Republicans. It just means that it's another competitor on the field, and they like to give marching orders rather than have mavericks in their midst. And that's ultimately what these people are. Whether they're going to come together on Christian nationalism and its 10 million different definitions and descriptions. Is that what they're going to come together on? Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona, RGA's co-chairman, was asked about whether he views Mastriano as a viable candidate during a question and answer session this month at Georgetown University. Quote, we don't fund lost causes. And we don't fund landslides, Mr. Ducey said. You have to show us something. You have to demonstrate that you can move numbers and you can raise resources. War waged on all of these folks. The only good they can do, and I'm just going to keep repeating it until everybody gets it, the only good they can do is use the key concepts in their campaigns and while in office. They're not going to be able to impeach anybody. They're not there to make us laugh. They're not there to be edgy for us. There are clowns on the internet that have big audiences that would love to have the most wild, the most absurd candidates supported by Trump to win office for the sole reason of saying edgy things that make people with very small penises and brains giggle to themselves. We don't have time for that. We don't have time for rebel Republicans to do no more than say edgy things that make dumb, small-dicked people laugh. We need them saying things that empower the population in their personal lives so that they can stomp the shit out of Aunt Betty and Uncle Joe at Thanksgiving when they want to stand up and be anti-white. That's what we need happening. These people, ultimately, such candidates, such campaigns, and such tenures of office need to be looked at as nothing more, nothing less of primary importance, in fact, than a communicating vehicle for the empowerment of that electorate that would elect such people. I'm obviously the only one intelligent enough who's articulating that in shows on the internet. We have others who are intelligent enough to get it, so, who are going free and in this community, but who are either not making shows, or if they're making shows, they're not articulating it. But I'm articulating it for you. And you can take it to these others out there in the world, these others who are white sympathetic in various stripes, and you can put it to them. What good, you should ask them. What good, you should ask their communities. What good's it going to be to have Marjorie Taylor Greene do something that won't actually achieve anything, that can't do us any good while she's in office, but makes us giggle and feel warm, and we can say, based. Boy, she's based. She said something based. That I am so disgusted with such people. Absolutely insufferable little pricks. We need people who are going to empower their voters. You got it? There has to be a new mindset when it comes to politics in the United States, an entirely revolutionary mindset, the empowerment of the electorate. You got it? We have to empower the people who vote for the rebels, because you won't be able to, if Donald Trump, genius billionaire in office, couldn't do jack shit, none of these others are going to be able to. And you damn well know it. Since you know that they're not going to be able to do anything, if the president, who was a genius and a billionaire, couldn't do anything, then you are admitting that the only reason you would want a Marjorie Taylor Greene or any of these others in there is because you want to giggle. Is because you want to say, based. It's based. It's epic. True. Faggots. Just absolutely every single one of you. Every single one of you children out there. The population is sick. We got to face it. Where are the thousands who are watching live shows? They're over there watching shit like that. They're over there imbibing shit like garbage. They're over there getting inspired by that. They're over there seeing value in that. And then what are they actually voting for out in the field from country to country? What do they vote for? Women, girls, cupcakes. That's what they're voting for. We got a sick population. We got a real, the real men and women of the West are going to just have to elbow through. And if that ends up meaning that metaphorically we have to elbow in the face these like little kids, well, then that's what happens. That's just what happens. Because rest assured, the men and women of the West who survive this bottleneck, that's what they are going to be known to have done. It's going to be like a victory story written in the sky, that not only did they stomp the shit out of anti-whiteism, but they also stomped the shit out of everybody getting in their way of doing good for our people. In polls of Pennsylvania this month, both the Morning Call of Allentown and CBS showed Mr. Shapiro with a lead of 11 percentage points over Mastriano, an advantage that has more than doubled since the primary. The most recent campaign finance reports show that Mastriano's campaign account had just 397,000 compared with 13.5 million for Shapiro. Mastriano supporters say he's following a Pennsylvania playbook written by Trump. They are counting on a surge of under-the-radar grassroots enthusiasm on Election Day and a political environment in which Republicans are motivated by anger with President Biden. Is that actually the strategy? I wish that Mastriano had the money to be on the air, said Charlie Garrow, a longtime Pennsylvania Republican operative who finished well behind Mastriano in the primary. He added, but his non-traditional campaign seems to be working. There isn't a lot of evidence that's true, writes Epstein, the author of this. Mastriano, who this year spent $5,000 trying to recruit supporters on the far-right social media platform Gab, never built an army of small donors of the sort that have powered anti-establishment candidates elsewhere, including Mr. Trump, not President Trump, former President Trump. Really not finding a lot of support from national level Republican organizations, so we're calling on people across Pennsylvania and across the United States of America to give directly to our campaign, close quote. A glum-looking Mastriano said. Glum, of course, that's Epstein's comment on the way Mastriano looks. A video on Facebook last week. Quote, these large groups, we have not seen much assistance coming from them. Well, I haven't taken a look at Mastriano and his videos where he's calling on help, asking for help, needs help. But I tell you this much. Christian campaigns, Christian nationalist type campaigns are known for relying on prayer. And there were better times in America when white Americans relied on prayer and God didn't come. Because God doesn't work like that. Your pastors have been telling you God works like that because they're there to undermine you. And if you think not, just go ask them if racism is a sin. They are there to undermine you. They are there to make you fail. God will help the champion who has already fought his way up to the top of the parapet, and God will give a little touch to go over the edge. And those things we call miracles. God does not do it for you, losers. So if this is what Mastriano is doing, let us pray. Then I'm afraid that will be the end of his campaign. Over here on Entropy, as we wrap up the final minutes, Rory Herbert, great to see you, good brother, writes with $3. Don't attack height challenged women, Jason. For goodness sake, how tall is your girlfriend? Height challenged women. No, whatever height you are is a wonderful thing as long as you're not our champion. If you are our champion, you have to be at least fighting size. So any final questions or comments, get them in now. I will take them. I will either agree with you, which will mean that you are a bright person, or I will disagree with you, which will mean that you are either drunk on drugs or very dumb. We will refresh over here. I'll have a quick look. And we have, get out your August emojis, please. Your 07s for a champion $20 financial gift. $20 coming from the real Marco. Not the foam-wearing Marco, the real one. $20. And he says, love you, big guy. Much love in return. $20. 20, let's save our white ass dollars. No, I think that these short ladies, Giorgia, and I keep forgetting the other one's name. She's so, what is it, Leavitt? Both of them can be fine in the kitchen or back at the office. They can be fine organizing. They can be fine putting it all together. Maybe they're technically masterful at, working back in the office and getting everything ready, putting it together. There are plenty of women with wonderful talents like that. Plenty. And then they can provide the hero with information, but they can't be the hero. They can't be out front. They can be part of the team of heroes, but they can't be the hero out front. And any man who wants to support a woman out front is really just looking for a dominatrix. And he's got himself bent over like an ostrich with his ass in the air. All right, let me scroll back. Isn't it nice to not only have in me and in this community all these champions who have come together, which I want to say before I say that one of the reasons why we have so many magnificent people is because they were out in the world magnificent themselves, and they were coming to this part of the truth or that part of the truth. Some of them had started using anti-white. Some of them had started doing this or that. And then they came across me and the Go Free method. And they said, oh my God, that perfectly harmonizes with what I'm thinking and who I am. And since this guy's been doing it for all these decades, he's got a lead. And so I'm going to join myself to that. You know what? There are other folks like that who are so jealous and are so egocentric that they don't want to come in and participate with us. And we don't want them either, because it's a team effort. It takes everybody coming together in service to white well-being to make this happen. But aren't you happy that there's a place where you can come and hear not only hardcore, straight-spoken truth about white well-being, about men and women, about the roles of each, about what's going on in the world, but that these things are coming from a guy who is a genius, who is a star athlete, who has won all the fights, the fist fights he's been in, like actual, I'm not talking about sport fighting in a ring somewhere where people can break it up and then you can go back to your corners. I mean, actual fights in the street where if you start losing, it's all over because the other guy will just keep pouring it on. I got missing teeth, broke the whole front of my jaw. I got scars all over. That's the real world. So in me, at least, for whatever it's worth and whatever we can do here, you're going to find somebody who has a fighter's spirit and an intelligence to back it up for whatever that's worth for you. And you need, as Thucydides says, you need somebody who is a fighter and a thinker. Because when you separate the two, you have these little girls. What do they think? Are they even thinkers? Are they even thinkers? Or is it just a matter that they're being elevated because there are so many men who want to bend over? God, this is sick. We are in a sick, sick world. God, there are things that should be done to men like that. And it's not something that they would want. Nordic Iron is here. Franklin is here. Kingdom of Inland. Mystic Knight. Ladybug. Peter, Pearl Lady, Buscape, Elaine Sabatino. Great champions. Wonderful to see you all. I'm going to slide through, see if I can see any. Let's see. J.W. Oldner says, is there anyone that you support politically? I support outcomes for white well-being. So when anybody acts in a way that fights back against anti-whiteism, I like that. I support that. When they run from it or when they conspire with whatever it might be, when they collude, I hate that. So I can like somebody the moment they do X and hate them the very next moment when they do Y. That's how we have to view everybody. There was a way I told you all The power of the money holders behind the scenes, when it comes to politicians, when it comes to leaders of various stripes, clubs, organizations, when it comes to content creators, there is one way that you can defeat the money holders behind the scenes. Because you see, they'll show up and they'll tell people, we'll make your problems go away. We'll pay off your house. We'll pay off your car. And by the way, if you don't take our money, we're going to harm somebody you care about. There are ways that those people come in and manipulate the face that you see. And there's only one way to defeat that. One. I've articulated it a lot. I'm the only one, as far as I know, and the folks in this community pushing it widely. And that is, you praise the outcome. You praise the fruit, never the person in and of themselves. Because the moment you start praising a person or supporting a politician, for example, the moment you do that, now you've just given over control to anybody who can come behind the scenes and compromise them, pay them off, threaten them, etc. Because once you commit, you'll feel loyal to them and you'll begin making excuses for them when they start doing everything else. So the proper position is that, like Giorgia or Karoline, Giorgia and Karoline, well, it sounds like a really bad sitcom, doesn't it? Giorgia and Karoline. When they get into office, or if Karoline gets in office, Giorgia is, if she does something good for Western civilization, you say, yes, that's fantastic. I support that. The moment she does something that is objectionable or deleterious, harmful, whatever it might be, pernicious, you say, damn her to hell. She's a wretch. That's the only way to intelligently contend with the money holders. You see, money defeated religion a long time, long before people realized it. Money defeated religion a very long time ago. And there's no reason to go back. I mean, unless you're just bored and you have nothing to do and try to pick out the exact dates of when that happened. Only thing that matters is that it happened. And so you have to be able to contend in an alternative way. And now I've given it to you. You're welcome. And thank you for the question, Olner. Cool Papa is here. Stone is here. Ursa Major. Lunder Down Under is here. The Great Reptile is here. Great to see you, brother. Fit and healthy at any age, and damned if he's not. Based and red-pilled says, no white guilt. It's clear Italy wants change, precisely. And if Meloni can do what she says, then it seems like a positive to me. No. I can see how you might think that if she can do what she desires, it would be good. But it is another sham that will be easily manipulated by anti-whites. If she does not call out anti-whiteism, we, white people in Italy, Italians, won't be able to defend against the unscrupulous psychological warfare that will continue unabated in that country. So they can very easily, as I can very easily, immediately, even if she got everything that she claimed, I can very easily, this fast, figure out how to talk to that population to get them headed in or continuing, I should say, in a direction that is harmful for Western kind in Italy. No problem whatsoever. This part of the issue with trying to understand anti-whites, part of the problem is that victims, us, who are trying to contend with it, they think that there is like an end zone for anti-whites. And there is of sorts, but follow me. The end zone that they see is the things that anti-whites do to victimize us. But that's not the end zone. That's not the goal for anti-whites. Anti-whites don't need you to embrace all of the different iterations of the gender question, the ear against the door. They don't need you to embrace that. They don't need you to become that. That is a tool that is used to victimize us. In my opinion, of course, the ear is against the door. It's a tool used to victimize us. The tool is not the end zone. The tool is not the objective. The end zone, the objective, is victimizing Western kind, Western civilization. When you own that reality, when you truly believe and understand that that's the reality, then your mind opens up to all of the possibilities of ways to get to that outcome that don't require these other tools to victimize us. You do not need to cut a person's wrists to kill them. You can put away the razor blade and leave their wrists alone, and you can kill them by other means. That's the goal of anti-whiteism, is to victimize us. The tools are not the goal. They don't even need mass immigration. Mass immigration is not the goal. So when you look at, and this is why I try to explain to people, this is like 201 IQ defense against the 200 IQ level of psychological warfare aimed at us. You do not need mass immigration to victimize us. It's a tool to do so. So if you then are a politician, or you're looking to a politician who says that they will end mass immigration, but they're not going to talk about the white race, they're not going to talk about the victimization of the white race, they're not going to talk about anti-whiteism, they're not going to talk about the psychological warfare waged against us, and you conclude that mass migration from non-white countries was one of their objectives that now has been stymied, and therefore that's good, then you have fallen prey to being a victim by another tool. You have fallen a prey to being a victim by something else anti-whites will bring forward to victimize our people. That's why you can't look at any of these other things. You can't just say, well, I'm a Christian and therefore X, Y, and Z, because in some ways Christianity is marred or harmed. We know it's because most Christians are white, and that would disappear tomorrow, that marring would disappear tomorrow if it suddenly was abandoned by the whole of the white race. You can't say that, well, defending Christianity is somehow stymieing their objective, because their objective is not harming Christianity. Their objective is victimizing Western kind. So we have to be able to articulate the difference between the tools by which we are harmed and the objective of harming us. We have to be able to distinguish the two. Are there any other content creators and organizational leaders spelling that out for you in a way that makes sense? Thank you very much. Based in Red Pill. It's a cool name. And looks like we have another one from you. Even if she can't, Italy wanting change is a positive. Oh, without question. 100% agree with you there. The white people in Italy, and I'm sure people of various immutable characteristics, are tired of anti-whiteism. And they want to push back against it. They want to bring an end to it. They just need to know to call it that so that you can get the outcome that you want. A sustainable outcome that you want. Elaine Sabatino says, Doug isn't saying that Jason. Oh, it must have been something I read. He wants voters. Okay, so Elaine is saying that what Epstein was saying is not true. That Doug is not saying that there shouldn't be abortion in any case. Elaine is saying that he wants voters to decide. So I guess he would like make it a referendum. Rory, if the mother's life is at risk, then I would agree that she should have an abortion. But in case of rape, it's not the baby's fault, and I believe that he or she should live. Well, that's a legitimate position that people can have and defend. Elaine says, again, the establishment refuses to give Mastriano money. Doug talked about it today on KSCO. Well, of course. It's all-out war on MAGA Republicans, on rebel Republicans. That's why we need them with the time that they have running their... Like, think about how much good, Elaine, Mastriano could do if he were using key concepts during his campaign. Now, if he is absolutely getting crushed by both the Democrat and the Republican establishment refusing to give him any money and assistance in running his campaign, then all he has is the campaign to do good. So he needs to use every second of that time to do the most good that he can. And the only good that can be done is to empower his electorate, empower his voters with concepts that will enable them to win in their personal lives, conversations with themselves, with friends, family, etc. That's what he needs to be doing. Because even if he gets in, even if he were to win the governorship, it's just going to be lawsuit after lawsuit, everything he does. All right. Just about to wrap it up. Nordic Iron says, warrior poets, brother. Yes, amen to that. Nancy Drew is with us. Great to see you. And says, I was talking to a member, somebody in the live chat, Santa Claus. Santa Claus, I've been following No White Guilt for about 4 years. So she's going to have to, she deserves lots of presents. Lots and lots of presents. And Rory's saying, did I know the second Duke of Westminster was known as Bend Over? Apparently it was after a horse. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. First Last says he's here. Real Playist applauding. Olner saying he agrees with what I said. Franklin helping out Buscape with something. All right. We actually got Santa Claus with us. That's cool. Elaine is taking off because her ride has arrived. Be safe, dear lady. Caleb says, Jason is to No Wine Guilt is what Carlin is to obesity. Yes, so true. Aptly spoken, my friend. Well, we've had another wonderful Jason Goes Political. We've had true champions in the live chat, as always. Reach out to those folks. If you're new, if you are just finding out about No White Guilt, you're just finding out about the Go Free method, reach out to these people. They're wonderful people. They've made stupendous changes in their lives. Many of these folks were in bad places when they came here, and they've turned everything around and improved themselves, probably from the exact same place, because there's such a variety, probably from the exact same hole or low place that you're in right now. There are others here, and maybe you're one of these, that were epic in their lives already, and they were already on the path to finding out what's going on exactly in the world and how to handle that. And then they discovered that somebody else, me, had started a little earlier. And so that's why I was a little further down the path than they were. And so they just decided to grab on that rope and pull up themselves and get right to speed. And they are superstars now. A lot of really wonderful folks. They're going to be looking out for you. It's a genuine love for our people and the defense of our people. And here in Jason Goes Political, we talk about the politics and what we can actually do politically. And by articulating this, we empower our people. As we said here tonight, by giving them the words, by giving them the concepts that change their lives for the better, selfishly, they will selfishly adopt them and they will selfishly utilize them. And the more they do, the more powerful we as a community become. I'll take a quick look over here at Odyssey. And Scipio says here, and I'm going to ask you, my good brother, to never use the word whiteness again. Whiteness is an anti-white concept given to us by anti-whites. No one in the white sympathetic sphere used whiteness until anti-whites gave us this infernal evil concept of whiteness. It is not anti-whiteness, it's anti-whiteism. Anti-whiteism. That's a real word, anti-whiteism, taken out of the dictionaries and being put back in as a consequence of our usage. Whiteness means white people are evil, that there aren't any white people, and it means oppression. So when you stand out against anti-whiteness, you're standing for oppression. Don't fall into that trap. Anti-whiteism, he says, goes hand in hand with anti-male. Well, yes, being against all men, being a misandrist, is a subset of anti-whiteism. The anti-white movement began by reducing the influence of white men. Well, the beginning of anti-whiteism, and I appreciate, thank you for the comment, the opportunity to speak to whiteness. Anti-whiteism, I've had this question several times recently as we sign off here. Where did anti-whiteism come from? And I think when folks bring this up, what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, oh, it's all the doing of this one race out there in the world. It's this one other race out there in the world, and they invented. Who are the people who invented it? Who are the people? It's just these folks, anything to continue hating and being white negative, hating on another race of man, rather than standing up for your own. Anti-whiteism began when white ethnicities made up lies and dehumanized other white ethnicities. So think back how far that went. How far back did that go? How far back was one white tribe demonizing another white tribe? Those slanders then were able to be used against the totality, against everybody but that one group. Those things undermined our brothers and sisters. So it makes it very easy when any other peoples come in. If we're already being anti-white among each other, makes it very easy when other folks come in to just hop on board. Oh, yes, that is true about the Polish. Oh, yeah, that is true about the British. Oh, yeah, that is true about Southerners. We have to take ownership for our well-being. We have to say that we're going to put an end to it. We have agency. We're not going to blame anybody else. There's no good that will come to you by saying some other group did this to us, because you had to have a weak spot. You had to have a place. You had to have it going on. And that's exactly what's happening. So if we did this, if we started this, and if it's white people who are anti-white and perpetuate it, then that means it's something in our control that we can change. And damned if we're not going to change it. You know, I say it at the end of every Jason Goes Political. It's not quite time for bed, but it's later than you think. Good night, America.